morning, everybody. I'm Oumoul Fadly NDIAYE. I'm a teacher trainer at CRFPE Dakar. Our today's presentation will be the first part of a TV program on TELE ECOLE called English Lessons. This presentation, you can also see it in another program called English Talk, which is presented by students. So let's start our lesson. Today we are going to talk about coronavirus. As you know it, this illness is now part of our life, unfortunately. So today we are not going to talk about the medical aspect, but about communication. If you want to communicate about coronavirus in English, which words can you use and how can you use them? So we are not going to deal with all the vocabulary related to coronavirus, but with some common words. So let's start our lesson. First of all, we have the word COVID-19. We are going to see what it stands for. What does COVID-19 stand for? We have first CO, which is corona. We have VNI, virus, DNI, disease, and 2019, the date when it appeared. So COVID-19 stands for coronavirus disease 2019. Now we are going to see how you can talk about people and coronavirus. For example, a person is ill. What are you going to say? You can say she or he has coronavirus. She or he is suffering from coronavirus. And you have the negative form also. She or he doesn't have coronavirus, or she or he isn't suffering from coronavirus. You know, when you are ill, you have a test. This test is done by doctors. So you have a first sentence, she or he tested positive for coronavirus. If you tested positive for coronavirus, it means that you are ill. The next sentence is she or he tested negative for coronavirus. If you tested negative for coronavirus, it means that you are not ill. Now we are going to talk about symptoms. The different symptoms which are related to coronavirus. Now, the expression you use to talk about symptoms is to develop symptoms. To develop symptoms. Now, which symptoms can you develop? You can catch a cold. To catch a cold is that your nose are running. You have running nose. Sometimes you have a headache. So you say you catch a cold. Another symptom is to sneeze. To sneeze, I'm sneezing. You have the word to cough. To cough. I'm coughing. And the noun from to sneeze is sneezing. The noun from to cough is coughing. Another word is to have fever. To have fever or to run a temperature. Your body is hot. If I touch your forehead or if I touch your body, it's hot. We say that you have fever or you run a temperature. Next is body ache. Body ache, it means that your body hurts. Your body hurts. It means that you are very tired. For example, if you do a lot of work, you are tired. So you have body ache. Sore throat, this is my throat. This is my throat. Sore throat means that your throat hurts. Another symptom is to have difficulty breathing. To have difficulty breathing. I do this. I'm breathing. To breathe. If you don't breathe, you'll die. Fatigue. Fatigue, you have the same word in French, or to feel tired. You feel fatigue or you feel tired. Clear for everybody? So let's move to other words. Now we are going to see some words related to coronavirus. The first word is outbreak. Outbreak. You know, when the disease began, it began in a small village in Wuhan, in China. So it was in a small place and people got ill at the same time. We say that it was an outbreak. So it's what I try to explain here. Some people got the disease at a small level. Now we have an epidemic. An epidemic means that the illness is spreading. For example, it began in Wuhan, and after it spread in other towns in China. So coronavirus became an epidemic. It means that many people got the disease. We have the word pandemic. After China, all over the world, people got the virus. So the disease became a pandemic. And talking about pandemic, the expression is to declare a pandemic. And we have here an example with WHO. WHO stands for World Health Organization. We can say World Health Organization declares coronavirus a pandemic. Now let's move to measures. Measures taken to deal with coronavirus. Coronavirus is here now. All over the world, we have cases. Which measures are taken? A synonym of measures is actions. Which measures? So one measure is to limit the transmission. You know that the virus is transmitted from one person to another. So health officers try to limit the transmission. Isolation. Isolation, when someone is ill, he is isolated. We've seen the word he or she tested positive. If you tested positive, you are isolated. It means that you are put in a place where you can't see people and people can't visit you. So you are isolated. Now, isolation is different from quarantine. What does quarantine mean? Quarantine means that you are not ill. but you are in contact with a person who has got the virus. If you are in contact with a person who has got the virus, you are in quarantine. Here, people in Senegal, people were put in quarantine for 14 days to check if you develop the virus or not. At this stage, you are not ill. But for isolation, you are ill. You tested positive. Lockdown, and the expression is to be on lockdown. We can also say to be in lockdown or to be under lockdown. 1 month ago in Senegal, we were under lockdown. We couldn't move. People couldn't go to their offices. Some shops were shut. People were under lockdown or on lockdown. And another word which can go with lockdown is curfew. 2 months ago, there was curfew in Senegal. What's curfew? It means that at 8 o'clock, you can't go out. Policemen were there, and at 8 o'clock, you have to stay at home. This is curfew. Next word we are going to see is community transmission or spread. Community transmission or spread. What does it mean? It means that you are ill, but you don't know where you've got the virus. You are ill, but you don't know where you have got the virus. This is what we call community transmission or spread. Face mask. This is a face mask. You put it like this to protect yourself and to protect other people. We have to ban large gatherings. To ban large gatherings, it means that when you have a wedding ceremony, when a baby is born, or when you have a wedding, when someone is getting married, you can't call your friends, your relatives to come and gather in your house. It's forbidden. A synonym of to ban is to forbid. So, large gatherings were forbidden or banned. To close borders, a border is a line between two countries. For example, between Senegal and the Gambia, there's a border. When borders are closed, it means that you can't go from one country to another. People from Senegal can't go to the Gambia and vice versa. We have social distancing. What does it mean? You have to stay away from people, at least 1 meter. It means when we are together, we have to keep a distance, at least 1 meter between one person and another. Okay, the next expression we are going to see is to protect the vulnerable. Who are the vulnerable? The vulnerable are elder people or old people or people who are suffering from an illness. For example, your parents or your grandparents can be among the vulnerable. Either they are old or they are suffering from an illness, like over blood pressure, for example. We have to contain the transmission. To contain the transmission is to restrict the transmission. To do the most so that a lot of people won't have the illness. Next word is to test people. Here, you know, we've already seen quarantine. People who are in quarantine are tested after by doctors. If they tested positive, they go to hospital to be cured. If they tested negative, they go at home to test people. To be symptomatic, we've already seen the word symptoms. To be symptomatic means that you show some symptoms. For example, you can run a temperature. You can have a running nose because you catch a cold, etc. So you can show the symptoms we mentioned. To be asymptomatic is the contrary. It means that you don't show any symptom. Now we have recommendations from health authorities. At the beginning, I was telling you that we are not interested in the medical aspect because this is the job of health officers. We are interested in the language as English teachers. But health authorities can give some recommendations. It means things you can do or things you can't do, or things you have to avoid to protect yourself and to protect other people. So let's go through the recommendations. First of all, wash your hands. Wash your hands with soap and water. Next, use hand sanitizer. Here's a hand sanitizer. Here's a hand sanitizer. This hand sanitizer, you put it in your hand and you rub it. It means when you are in a place where you can't get access to water and soap, you use hand sanitizer. Next is to practice social distancing. We've already talked about social distancing. It means to keep away from each other. Avoid contact with people who are ill, quite clear. That's why when people are at the hospital, you can't go to visit them. Cough or sneeze in tissues. Cough or sneeze in tissues. This is a tissue. This is a tissue. You cough or you sneeze in tissues. We have already seen the word to cough or to sneeze. So, cough or sneeze in tissues or in the band of your elbow. In the band of your elbow. This is my elbow. This is my elbow. So, sneeze or cough in the band of your elbow. Okay, another word is to wear a face mask. We've already seen the word face mask. What do you do with a face mask? You wear it. The last word, avoid to touch your eyes, mouth, or nose. Avoid to is don't. Don't touch your eyes, mouth, or nose. Now, we are at the end of our presentation. Now, we are going to see if you've understood the words and expressions you can use to talk about coronavirus. We've got two exercises. The first one is a paragraph completion. The task is complete the paragraph with the appropriate words or expressions. These words or expressions are words and expressions we've already studied. Now, try to put them, to fill in the blanks using these words so that you'll have at the end a meaningful paragraph. So, you can read it, you can do it alone, or you can do it in pairs, or do it in a group. Okay, this is the second exercise, matching exercise. The task is match words in column A with definitions in column B. In column A, you have the vulnerable, hand sanitizer, social distancing, facial mask, symptomatic, asymptomatic, community transmission, and quarantine. In column B, a feeling of illness or physical change, elder people or people with an illness, to protect yourself from breathing or spreading the virus. It kills the viruses that can be on your hands, to stay away from people, a person producing or showing no symptoms, to be in a place of isolation because you have been exposed to the virus. And the last one is cases are occurring in people who don't know where they got the virus. Now, you're going to match the words with the definitions. So, we are at the end of our presentation. These two exercises will help you check your understanding of the words and expressions. And see you next time for another English lesson. Goodbye.